By the end of this video, you'll be able to create the floor material that you see right here for the spaceship. And guess what? The floor material has no repetitiveness. And that's a huge problem when it comes to creating 3D worlds. This is probably what it will look like if you bring in material from online. But we do bring the material from Quixel Bridge. However, we teach you how to break it up and make it look like it is in the real world.
What is up, beautiful people? You are here because you want to go from noob to pro in materials and textures. And in this chapter, Faraz, what are we going to cover?
Well, you already know everything about materials and material instances, so you're a pro at that. You know about the material properties. You learned a little bit about material graph and how to tile materials and bring materials from online. And now we're going to get more deep into it. We're going to be using Quixel Bridge, which is something that is sent from gods. I really think so, because it has about 15,000 assets. We're talking about 3D meshes, we're talking about textures,
decals,
imperfections, all of these that come for free with the highest quality, sometimes up to 8K textures that are available within the engine. All you have to do is click a few buttons and you'll get them inside the engine and you can build massive worlds with them. And so we're going to use Quixel Bridge to create our flooring. Now, if you look, Farhad, closely at our reference, what do you see?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. So that is a scene from the movie.
Yep.
And if you pay close attention to the flooring, what does it look like?
I would say it's kind of a steel that has a lot of scratches.
Right? It's probably like a steel or maybe a metal, but it's very glossy and it's not dull at all. Like it's dull in some areas because of all the things they probably moved on top of it, but it's still reflecting a lot of light. And I really like this. So we actually went ahead and used something very similar for our own spaceship when we created it. And we're going to recreate that same effect using Quixel Bridge. So let's get started. Now, Farhad, today's video has something really special because once we bring in the materials, they're going to have one huge problem, especially when we bring materials from Quixel. They're going to be repetitive when we scale it up to the scale of this hangar. So today we're going to solve that problem.
Let's do it together.
Okay. First thing we're going to do, and we forgot this over the last few chapters, we're going to name our hangar right here. It's still called path. So let's go ahead and organize things. We're going to use F2 and we're going to rename this to hangar. All right. And then we're going to take this, right click. I'm going to move this guy, right click, and we're going to move to create new folder. We're going to go to spaceship. Really quickly, just organizing things. And then everything else, all of these are blockouts. So we're going to right click and move to create new folder. Call this blockout. Just staying organized. Now, the way we can access Quixel Bridge is right at the top here. So go to this add icon. Quixel Bridge is right there. It's automatically there with you in the engine. And it's going to open up this menu right here. Make sure you are signed in every single time. If you're not, it's going to probably prompt you to do that. We are already signed in. That's my email. If you want to go ahead and email me any donations, I would accept them through that email right there.
You're going to get a lot of spam now.
So here you will see many, many different assets, right? They are introducing to you their 3D materials. There are 3D models. There are plants. And then they've got collections based on different genres, right? And different categories. Honestly, one of the best things that have happened to the 3D community is right here. There are about 14,572 assets. Now, we can go ahead and look for what we want if we know what it is, or we can go ahead to the left side here, just hover, and then look at the different categories, such as surfaces. And then there are going to be categories within categories here when it comes to surfaces. And you can just look through them, click on them, and then see what sort of materials you have. So Farhad, we already know what we want to use, right?
We want to use metal panels.
Metal panels. It's called, I believe, metal panels facade. So we're going to search that. So metal panel facade. And then as we search it, it's going to present us the materials that have that same name.
What is that check mark?
So the check mark means we've already downloaded these before. And clearly, because we've created this scene about 100 times, we have already downloaded these three guys. And from these three guys, right, once you find out which one you want to use, we want to use this one specifically, you're going to click on it, and then it's going to open up. And then all you have to do is just go, there are some details about the material. All you have to do is just go here, select the quality that you want, low, medium, high, highest. And this is going to define the resolution of the textures. Just like when we went to textures.com, there was the the
8K,
half K,
4K,
1K.
2K.
Absolutely. So I believe highest quality will be 8K. We always want to go for the highest quality. So go for it. And then, as you can see, the moment I switch to highest quality, my add button was enabled and download was already a check mark, which means I've already downloaded it. If you haven't, click download and then wait for it to download, and then the add button will be enabled. So for us, in this case, it's already enabled. Now, another way you can do this, if you've already downloaded it, it will go to your local drive clearly because we have already downloaded this. And I can just search for metal panel facade, and it'll be there. These are the 3 that we've downloaded, so I can just go ahead and add. When I click add, it's going to automatically create a new folder with the Megascan folder and the surface folder, and then it's going to lay down the material for me, which is absolutely beautiful. Close, close. So before we go ahead and apply the material, we are going to create a floor. Now, we can go ahead and turn the current spaceship mesh into multiple parts when it comes to materials. And we are going to do that for a specific part, which is the light in front. I'm going to show you really quickly. For these lights, we're going to do that. But to not complicate things right now, we're going to just separate the floor. It's just going to make it so much more easier, and it's not going to be noticeable anyways. So we're going to create a cube, lay it down in the middle, right there. Just going to reset it. And then Farhad, we're just going to enlarge this.
And make a new floor.
Just make a new floor on top of this, right? Just going to enlarge it. We don't have to get super detailed with it right now. Just a rough floor will do. Just going to pull it a little bit more. And I already know scaling it on one axis is going to definitely mess up our tiling. So it's good that we learned how to tile things earlier on. And I'm going to bring this guy a little lower, or maybe just scale it. This, bring it a bit lower. This is the floor, so it has to be lower than everything else. Sticking out just a little bit. Again, we will solve all of these sizes later on. We just want to get something going. So I don't want it to go through here yet, right? This is what we got. So we got a floor now, and we can see it. I'm just going to rename it as well. Call it floor, and then drop it into my spaceship folder. Okay, cool. So we're going to just go back to my reference. It popped out. Make sure we're getting something similar. We're going to open up our content drawer and then go to the Megascans folder, which was automatically created. Go to surfaces and then metal panels facade, right? Now, we can see the 3 textures that we've got and the material. But if you look to the bottom left, it says material instance. Anything that you download from the Quixel Bridge panel right there, it is going to come in as a material instance. They're pretty smart about this. They didn't want to make a parent material for everything. They made one single parent material, and they knew all of the parameters that people would need to change. And then everything else that you download is now a child of that material. So if you check it out, you actually cannot control the nodes, but you're given all of these options. You can change the tiling, what we stole for our materials earlier on. You can change, what else can you change?
Albedo, metallic, roughness, all the parameters basically for the material can be changed. And then you can check the parent material over there.
So if you check the parent material, you'll see that there's just these dummy textures, right? And then there's this whole adjustment. If you double click it, if you want to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa. Yeah, this is basically the parent material. All of the parameters that we just saw, it's even written here for color, for metallic, specular, roughness, normals, and ambient occlusion. This is what's basically controlling all of our Quixel assets. So I'm going to close these guys. We don't need them right now. And we're just going to just minimize this and then drag and drop our floor material on top here. So Farah, what's the problem right now?
It's huge.
It's way too big, right? So let's go ahead and scale it back down. So we're going to use the tiling right here. And we're going to go all the way up, tiling, and open it up. And it's at 1. So we're just going to make this maybe 10.
20.
10. 20. Oh, yeah, this is way too big.
23, 33, I think.
23, 33.
You should,
yes.
guys, you should play around with the numbers and see what kind of tiles you like.
Yeah, I like this, 23, 33. The reason why they're not the same value is because we want it to be slightly more stretched out, just like the reference we got here, right? So this, yeah, for now, this is perfect. Okay, cool. So we know that we want it to be a little bit more rough, right? We know that we want it to be a little bit more rough. So let's go to the max and min roughness. Right now, the max roughness is at 1, min is 0. We just have to pull down the max roughness to make ours a little bit less dull. and we can see the result immediately.
Now we can see the light reflection.
We can see the light reflection, absolutely. So Farah, what is the biggest problem right now with our floor?
Repetitive.
It's absolutely repetitive,
Yeah.
right? I mean, look at this. Look at our floor. Just look at it from the top. And then look at the example here, right? You see the amount of detailing in the floor, the scratches, the imperfections. And that's what makes this look realistic. Whereas our one looks like a plastic to me. It just looks
Like a toy.
like it's fake. And it has the same texture all the way from here to here. And that's what, 180 meters of the exact same look. So this is a huge problem when it comes to creating things in the 3D world. We don't automatically have imperfections. We need to add them manually. Now, there are many ways you can do this, but there are expensive ways, which means your GPU is going to take a hit, or there are cheaper ways to do this. Now, Farhad, luckily, when it comes to the starter content, what Epic Games has done
They gave us everything.
What did they do?
They gave us the nodes for making the imperfections and all the textures, randomizers.
It's amazing. That's why the starter content exists, right? So actually, if we go ahead and steal some of the properties of the starter content, we'll be able to fix our problem here with the flooring. So let's go ahead and take a look at that really quickly. I'm just going to duplicate, right, this floor just for demonstration. You need to know this. You do not need to do this, right? And then I'm going to just scale this down a little bit. We don't need that scale. Just so you guys see what I'm talking about. So on this guy right here, I'm just going to hide these, right? So it's more clear. And then here, I'm going to just go to our starter content. We're going to go to one of these materials, this one, metal burnished steel. And then we're going to drag it and drop it here. Okay, cool. So this material is pretty big right now. But if you notice, there is no repetition, right?
Yeah.
It's no repetition.
Nothing.
We're going to go ahead and make it even worse. So right now, the starter content doesn't come with an instance. It is absolutely just a material. So we're going to create an instance and then try to tile the material just like we did with our floor and see if we make it super scaled, will it still look repetitive or not? So Farhad, let's do that. Create a material instance, okay? Apply it. And then we're going to go to the parent material. Now, I'm just going to quickly tell you what is going on here. The reason why this is not repeating is because of these nodes at the top here. What is happening? Very simply, this is our color, right? This is our normal map, and you guys already know what that is. This is basically giving us the color. The normal map is giving us these holes, and then these guys right here are basically imperfection and variation materials, and they're the same. These three materials are the same. Check it out, just so you know what it looks like. You see
These
that?
are the imperfection that makes it look not repetitive exactly.
Absolutely. And then they basically give them three different scales using the tiling, the coordinates. So big, medium, small over the entire texture. And they say, can you mix these with our color and with our roughness and then create the material? So that, let's go ahead and create tiling. I'm going to use our tiling method. Again, you do not need to do this. You're more than welcome to try, but you can just watch what happens. We're going to, because automatically it doesn't come with tiling. So we're just going to go ahead and tile our normal map and our base color to something large, like 10 and 10. And then just take a look.
Still not repetitive.
Does it look repetitive?
No.
Absolutely
It's
not.
because of those nodes up there.
And then look at this, look at this. So here's a tip. If you hold your right click, and if you want to zoom into somewhere, right, without your camera, you press Z. So press Z, you can zoom in, and then Z to zoom out. C to zoom in, Z to zoom out. And that's just for a quick way to look closely at things. So I'm just going to look closer here. Farah, what do you see at the top there?
All these imperfections.
Right?
Yeah.
And
all those texture samplers going around random.
Exactly. That's what making sure we do not see the repetitiveness. If we go ahead and quickly hide it, so let's just go ahead and connect our base color directly to base color. Let's not mix it. And then our roughness, which is actually stored here into our roughness, okay, directly. I'm just going to remove all of the variation nodes. Look at what happens. Do you see the difference?
Repetition.
It's ugly.
Yes, ugly.
So why not go ahead and steal what we have in the starter content and apply it to the floor, and let's see what we get.
Thank you, Epic Games.
Thank you, Epic Games. Okay, so we can go ahead and delete this. We don't need this anymore. We can go back to our flooring. Now, the easiest thing to do in order to steal these is just go ahead and, first of all, I'm just going to fix this material because right now it's not fixed. We're going to go back here, pull this in, just make sure it's correct, and then pull this into the roughness. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this material and instead just switch out the textures of the color and normal to our own from the floor. That's the easiest way rather than copying all these nodes, right? This is just going to make it easier.
Don't touch the nodes.
Don't touch the nodes. So Control D to duplicate. And then we're going to call this floor material, just floor M, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to make this smaller. Oh, actually, I went out of it. I'm going to find floor material. And then I want to go ahead and drop this into my other folder, which is materials.
Yeah.
The materials. Okay. You can put it anywhere you want, but I'm going to hold it, drag it, and I'm going to go to materials, and then I'm going to let it go. It's asking me if I want to make another copy there or just move this over there. So Control C or Control X if you're using Windows. I'm going to move it. I don't need it here anymore. So moving it over there, and then I have my floor material. So let's go ahead and create a new instance for this as well, right? Because we want to be able to control the tiling. And we're going to drop the instance on top of our floor. Okay, so right now we've got the metal right now, and we need to go ahead and switch the textures to the floor. So let's open up the material. And then we can go ahead and hide this. We don't need that anymore. And then we're going to go to our color here. And remember the two buttons that we learned about, these two in the beginning?
Find and select.
Find and select and replace. So we're going to use the Control Space to go ahead to our mega scans and then look at our color. So this is our color. This is our normal map. And then this is ORD. I'll quickly explain what is ORD in a moment, but let's first go ahead and replace our color and normal map. So our color will be switched with this. So let's select it, right? We can go ahead and drag and drop and then connect all the nodes again, but it's easier to just select this and then select this guy and then say, hey, replace it for me. Boom.
Boom.
You can already see if I switch this to the static mesh that we've switched with our the floor material, the metal panel facade, yes. So then what do we do with the normal map?
Same thing?
Same thing, right? Normal map, the N. The blue color is always a normal map. And then we're going to go ahead and replace. Boom. Just like that, the normal map is also replaced. Now, the thing that is missing, and you can see, by the way, when I hit apply, that our floor is here, but there's still things that we have to fix, and we're going to do that. Now, real quick, I just want to explain what is ORD to you guys, okay? So when you open up ORD, you will see that it's a pinkish color, and ORD, there's 3 letters. What does it mean? Remember when we talked about RGB, red, green, and blue?
Yep.
So what you can do in 3D, which is actually super smart, is you can store multiple textures in one image. So imagine if you could, do you remember the minions in Despicable Me?
Yeah.
Imagine if 3 of them hid in the coat acted as if they were one person.
Yeah.
You can do that in 3D to save space and performance. So instead of loading in 3 different textures for occlusion, roughness, and displacement, you're basically using one texture. Why? Well, because occlusion, ambient occlusion, roughness, actually metallic and specular are the same, and displacement as well. They're all black and white images. They do not need color values, which means red alone or green alone or the blue plane alone can store the 0 to 1 or 0 to 255 values of black and white and gray. So if I were to go ahead and look at the top here, so we have RGB, right? I can go ahead and disable everything. So check this out. This one is called ORD, right? O stands for occlusion. So if I were to enable O, which is our red channel, you will see your occlusion map. I'll disable it. And then R, so ORD, R is for green. So roughness, enable it. This is our roughness. You can even see the roughness, right? The white areas are extremely rough. And then the black areas are not rough at all. And then you'll have the gray, which is in between, right? And then our last one, blue, which is our displacement, right? ORD. So we're storing 3 different textures. And I need to tell you guys what is displacement as well, if you guys don't know. So displacement, also known as the height map, basically does what normal map does, but instead here, it's actually pushing and pulling the mesh. So if your mesh has details, you can use this image to tell it where I want to lift the polygons and where I want to pull them down. So it actually moves your mesh, but it's more expensive, it's heavier, and it's a little bit more complicated. So we're not going to be talking about it in this tutorial series, but the textures are available for you to use. So let's go back here. If we want to go ahead and bring in our ORD, it's going to be right here. And our ORD will, of course, will go into our roughness and occlusion map, right? At this moment, if you look closely, what is going into our roughness is coming in from the alpha layer. Why is that? Let's check it out. Let's go to our, actually, this is not the original texture. So we're back into our metal original floor. And then if we check our metal textures, and if you go to our alpha layer, look at what you see. This is the roughness.
Yeah.
They stored the roughness in the alpha layer, which is why it's coming out of there. So we're going to go back to our floor material, and then we have our ORD right here that we brought in. So instead of using the alpha layer for the roughness, because we have nothing there, we're going to use our green, right? That's our ORD. So green for roughness, and put this where roughness was supposed to go. And then we also have to make sure we bring in the tiling, right? So tiling also has to go into our roughness map. We can also go ahead and use the O, which is ambient occlusion, for our AO right here. So we can connect that. We have that extra parameter that we can use here. So we're going to hit apply. We're going to go to save. And now we're going to close this. We're going to make sure we have our materials here. So our floor instance is there. Let's go ahead and open it up, and let's start changing some parameters and see if this works or not. So Farah, what are we going to change?
Tiling.
Tiling. What was the number?
23, 33.
23 and 33.
Oh, it looks much better.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yes.
This is so much better. Do you see any repetitiveness?
No.
I can't tell.
Nope. Make it bigger. Make it cover
The front part?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go all the way to the front. I agree. And actually, I think we can scale it to the sides as well all the way. What do you say?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, that was looking kind of weird, right? Okay. So pull this in.
And let's change the base color.
I like that idea. Okay, cool. So right now we've got the floor, and it's not looking repetitive, but Farhad is not a big fan of the color itself.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and change that. So Farhad, how can we change that?
Base color?
Yeah, but we need to
You
alter
can
it.
multiply it by a RGB node.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. So I don't know, have we talked about this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
About the multiply, yes. About
Have we told you guys about how you can change the color? If you
Yeah, yeah.
haven't, well, you can
Yeah,
learn
no,
again
it's
right now. So whenever you want to change the emissive color or the base color, you can go ahead and take all of the nodes that you have, doesn't matter what you have, and then bring in a
multiply node
and
and RGB node.
an RGB node, and then go ahead and basically change the tint color. And that's what happens in the Megascans asset. You can go ahead and reverse engineer how they did it. This is how we're going to do it right now. So a 3 left click,
Yep.
that's that, and then an M left click, right?
Yep.
So then whatever we have here, we'll go into the B node, and then we'll say, hey, I want to use a new color now in the A node. So just go ahead and multiply what I want to what is already there. And then we're going to replace this right here. And then let's not forget, how do we make this a parameter? Right click, convert to parameter, boom. And then now we're going to call this maybe like color tint.
Yep.
Color tint, tinge, tint. And then we're going to hit apply. It's absolutely black right now. So let's go ahead and change that. We're going to go here, and then we're going to go ahead and enable the color. And now we're going to change. So what color do you want?
A little bit lighter than what we have.
So this is already super light. So we can go to like, I like a slight bluish tint, slight, like very little. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you say?
This is good.
This is good, right? Okay, cool. Now, we can go ahead and increase the brightness of this. This is just a little tip for you guys. So the value here is maxed out at 1. If you go ahead and just increase this again, it will increase the brightness. Check this out. Do you see?
Too bright.
Yeah, I'm just showing you. So you can actually like go as maxed out as you can. So Farhad had a problem of it not being bright enough. Farhad, what do you think about this now?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
Good enough? Perfect.
Wait a second. We're teaching you guys all of these techniques like modeling and texturing, but frankly, there are faster alternatives like photogrammetry.
That's when you use your phone to take a bunch of photos of a real life object and then turn that object into 3D within minutes and then bring it into Unreal Engine.
So we use Polycam for our photogrammetry, and they actually sponsored this course so that you guys get 30% off their pro plan. We have all of the details and the promo code in the description. Back to the course.
Faraz, the floor is actually a little bit too glossy. Can we increase the roughness?
I actually agree with you. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we're just going to quickly open the floor material. And then real quick, we already know again, this is the normal. This is the roughness map that we brought in with the ambient occlusion. This is our color, right? These are our variation nodes. And then here, if you notice what's happening with the roughness, we are basically having a min and a max roughness. Remember when we brought in the Quixel floor, it had a min and max roughness. So it's the same thing. So we have the min and max. We need to go ahead and increase both of them if you want to go ahead and make this more dull. So what do you think about 0.3 and 0.5?
Let's try it. Let's give it a try.
0.3 and 0.5. Okay, hit apply.
Much better. Much better.
Yes. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, and do you see this weird grid?
Yeah, that's the floor, right?
Yeah, that's like the grid of our world. Let's go ahead and just raise the floor slightly so that we can hide it.
Oh,
okay.
yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Much
Save.
better.
And so, Farhad, you know one thing? Right now, if we go to our material instance, we are not going to be able to control anything because none of these are parameters from our starter content material. So
You have to change them here.
yeah, so we can go ahead and just shift select both, or sorry, drag your mouse on both and then right click, convert to parameter. So there's going to be min rough, max rough. In case you want to have control inside, apply the material instance. And we have it right now. So min and max. And this way you can go ahead and really play around with what you think will be right for you. And I think honestly 0.3 and 0.5 is
The best.
for us. One last thing before we end it all, you can actually go ahead and change your roughness values for the variation nodes as well. So in case you do not like the size of these variation nodes, all of these values are things that you can turn into parameters, right?
And then play with later on.
So imagine this multiply node, you can basically bring in a 1, connect it here, and then turn this into a parameter, control it in the material instance. And then you can really art direct your floor. We're not going to do that right now because I'm pretty much happy with this. So Farhad, I think we are done with our flooring.
Amazing. So in the next chapter, we are going to texture our walls and other parts of our spaceship.
Yeah, and those are going to be even more advanced. So if you're down to learn more about materials, let's head right into the next chapter.
Let's go.
See you there.